Welcome to Saturday Morning Talk Show, Spilling the Tea to Juliet G. It's every Saturday from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. GMT time.
There's only one place to be on a Saturday. That's with Juliet G. Extra, extra, read all about it. Juliet J's on the radio right now. Never ever spilt my tea, but when I listen to this bird, I know she's absolutely superb and she's worth spilling the tea to. So, Juliet G, come on in and do your thing, baby. Him say, oh, your memo special. Or the into boy say, into us here, no name it now. Or bar with you, or mommy pressure. Umpe way I jack one, who be there, so came my name, Emma. Penno sweetie, now I'm a big wiper. We say, oh, your bar VIP, just say, very important personality. The PPR and your quality. Ampa, obey, or quit the beauty. Semo feeling, semo check it, semo dig it. Or do a home at Tiani, one I'm a fakatia.
Wakey, wakey, rise and shine, and welcome to Saturday morning greetings to one and all. It's Saturday, the 5th of February. Yes, what an amazing show it was last week. Can you imagine? The week has gone so quickly. Oh my days. What can I say? I had my first two monthly prize draw winners, Roche and Rubin, the two R's. Yes, they have started the pace. Now, they are both working really hard and doing well in their lives, and we hope that it lasts long. Now, February's nominations are now open. So, if you know any young person between the ages of 7 and 11 years of age, you need to nominate them. You need to get going. Now, all you have to do is just email me on, and I've made it really, really easy, STT, the number 2, and the letter JG. Now, it's STT2JG @gmail.com. So, if you know any young person, as I said before, between the ages of 7 and 11 years of age that are doing well in school or in sport, all you have to do is just email me. And you can check out my Insta, Facebook, or the Supreme FM business page for full details. Now, every month I have 2 prize draw winners, and they get to win a £10 voucher and a choice, and a voucher of their choice and a certificate. Yes, like Roche and Rubin. Now, and then they get put into the grand prize draw, which is going to be held in December, which is December the 24th, Christmas Eve, where there will be 2 trophies up for grabs, which I can now share with you, which is being sponsored by Martin Winter, who will also engrave the winners' names on their trophy. So, you know what to do. I've been saying it for the past couple of months. Plus, they will also get a certificate and a £50 voucher each. So that is all the winners for the month of January to November are all put into this grand finale prize. So, and guess what? I no longer decide. The choice will be down to you, the listeners. So they will be your listeners, the winners. So for the next couple of hours, you don't have to move an inch. Just lend me your ears. Welcome to another exciting edition of your Saturday morning talk show, Spilling That Tea to Juliet G, on your number 1 community radio station, Supreme FM. Superior to many, inferior to none. No matter what part of the globe you're listening from, thank you for tuning in. It's your host, Juliet G, where I converse with real people and get them to spill that tea, and that's with a double E, and talk their truth. Yes, that's me. Now, before I proceed any further, I'd like to thank my guests last week, as always. That's Lee Townsend and Paula Perry for your invaluable contribution to the show. And thank you to all the people that messaged. Big shout out, as always, to my sponsor of my show, Fine Boy Inc. And shout out to Polly, Supreme FM's media management, the dream behind Supreme that keeps us, as I say, visible. Now, just a few quick reminders before I bring on my guest. A few quick reminders and community information before we get this show on the road. Now, today is week 6 of the weekly financial challenge. So we're putting in £6 today, which makes a grand total saving of £21. Yes. It's growing slowly but surely. Now, there are some really There are some really fantastic opportunities for young people at this moment. The first one, I have posted these on my Facebook and Insta pages, but I'll just say them again for those that missed it. Now, the first one is a pilot training opportunity for young people between the ages of 13 to 25 years of age who are interested in becoming a pilot. Now, Fantasy Wings will be funding the cost of the training and pilot's license for Black, Asian and minority ethnic young people. It will run, their course will run one Saturday a month, and this is an excellent opportunity and it's an insight into becoming a pilot. So if you know any young people that fall into that category that is interested in becoming a pilot, you know what to do. Now the second is Lickmore Production in conjunction with Mama Youth Project are recruiting paid TV training where trainees get the chance to work on a Sky broadcast show. So training runs from 14 weeks and then it's followed by a paid work placement. So they get to work on places like Netflix, ITV, Channel 4 and many more. Now, this opportunity can open doors for young people who must be between 18 plus and not be in education or employment, since it is a full-time commitment, and the closing date for this application is Monday the 28th of February. Full details for everything that I've just mentioned, you can check out my Insta, Facebook, or you can check out the Supreme FM business page. And lastly, the world as we see it is going through a really stressful transitional time that will affect people's mental health and well-being. Now, Supreme FM is committed to supporting our listeners, to signposting them to agencies that are able to create supportive communities like Mind and Rethink Mental Health Illness. So if you require support and assistance, please do not suffer in silence, as there are agencies that are non-judgmental that are willing to help and support you. There is no shame in asking for support, as we all need a bit of help every now and again. So it takes a lot of strength in asking for help, as it's not a sign of weakness. So if you know anybody that needs any support and help, please, you know what to do. Now on that note, as you know, I always like to start my show with a short prayer before I bring on my guest.
Dear Lord God, as we come together again today to listening to Spilling the Tea to Juliet G, and as we hear about Dr. Maggie with her dental practice, thank you for loving us, for walking with us and caring about the smallest detail in our life. Fill us with grace, Lord, that we may have the strength to face whatever comes our way today, and know that whatever comes forth, we will be ready, no matter what it is. So as we continue to listening to Spilling the Tea to Juliet G, I lift these few words up to you. Amen.
Yeah. Now that I got your attention. Yeah. Hey. How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? Come on. Hey. Baby Dub, baby Mary. Hey. Back again. Yeah. Hey. Y'all mind walking with us for a second? Talk to him. Tell me what
mistakes, get back up, try again. Next time that save me. I'm walking, I'm walking, I'm walking. 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 Some people say walking takes too long. But I say with walking you can't go wrong. No. Why should you rush your way through life? You won't get very far running all the time. Look at me, I'm trying every day. I fall down, make mistakes, get back up, try again. Next time that save me. I'm walking, I'm walking, I'm walking. 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 What does my life say about me? Can anyone see? Does it show I rock with the greatest? I can't get back the time I spent. Use the rest of it to show all the world how I made one foot in front of the other. I'm walking, I'm walking, and I keep on. I'm walking, I'm walking. I'm taking it one day at a time. I'm walking, I'm walking, I'm walking, and I'm steady walking. I'm walking, yeah, 'cause I know that Jesus walks with me. Yes, he does. Said I know that Jesus walks with me. Yeah. So I keep on walking, yeah, yeah. Said I keep on walking, walking. Said I'm walking, yeah.
Come on, walk with us real quick. Yeah. Left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. I'm walking, my block.
Welcome back to Spilling That Tea to Juliet G on supremefmlive.ning.com. Without further ado, I'd like to bring on my guest, Dr. Maggi Andi, dental practice owner, holistic dentist, life coach, football coach, winner Best Cosmetic Family Dental Practice, London 2020, winner of the Best Holistic Dental Practice, North London 2021, Oral Health and Dentist Award, Dentistry Awards, and NHS Prescribing and F2F Hub London. You are part of the Holistic Members Club and you are a dental mentor. Phew. What don't you do, Dr. Maggi? What don't you do?
Good morning, Juliet.
Good-
Good morning, lovely listeners. You know what? I get dizzy when I hear that. I think, oh my God, is that actually me?
Listen, you're dizzy. My mouth is dizzy. Now we are talking. In fact, I think that was quite appropriate. My mouth, teeth, dental. Dr. Maggi, how are you?
Yes, I'm good. Thank you. It's been a busy old time of it, but yes, lovely start to the year. And February, as you know, to me is the month of love. So everything I do is about, I mean, I try and make sure everything I do all year round is about love, but especially February, you know, it's that kind of month where I catch up with lots of family and I'm constantly suddenly overwhelmed as everybody else with issues, but it's not an issue. That's what life and family is all about, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So here we are, 2022.
And all I can say is, Dr. Maggi Andi, kudos to you. You are big things. Yeah. So, as always, I like my guests to introduce themselves to our listeners. So, can you just briefly introduce yourself, like where you grew up? Who is Dr. Maggi Andi?
Okay, yes, well, so I actually grew up predominantly in the UK. I was born in Nigeria, so I came to the UK when I was just around about 6 months old.
Hey,
So,
my Niger
uh,
sister.
so I know technically I'm British, but I like to still classify myself as Nigerian. I come from a wonderful kingdom in Nigeria, which is the Kingdom of Opobo. It's just, in my opinion, one of the most beautiful places just on the Atlantic.
Listen, everybody will say that.
And yeah, now an avid North London practice owner, but living in Southwest London, so I get to see both sides of the fantastic London every day. And yeah, here I am. So I schooled here, and I made my journey into dentistry, but I am fiercely entrepreneurial. So dentistry is just one of the many things I do, but that's my primary profession, and I absolutely love it. I mean, helping people, and yeah, so that's me. It's just wonderful. I think I've definitely landed on my feet, because not many people are privileged enough to do what they love, and I'm one of the lucky few that's able to say I actually love everything I do. So God bless me.
Do you know what? We we are actually going to go to break. So before I ask you any further questions, we're going to go to break, okay?
Okay, super.
Welcome back to Spilling That Tea to Juliet G on supremefmlive.ning.com. Now, I'm in conversation with Dr. Maggi Andi, dental practice owner. Now, Dr. Maggi, what was school like? And the teachers? Did you
Yeah.
did you experience racism when growing up?
I did. It was at different levels, to be honest, because it depends on which bit of school you're talking about. So my primary school
Pray tell.
education.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, yes, my primary school education, I went to like 9 different primary schools, but you're talking early 80s. And my mum had come over to the UK as a junior doctor. And so like every 6 months, we'd have to move primary school. So we were 1 minute up in Newcastle, and then London, and then Bournemouth. So I did experience, being called Blackie in the playground several times, as every other black child I'm sure would have done if they were the only one in the entire school. And that was kind of tough, but funnily enough, looking back, I don't think I quite realized at that time it was racism, obviously. I just figured I was just getting teased because I looked a little bit different, but it didn't have any kind of innate grindings within me. It didn't stir me. And I think the first time I knew what racism was when actually we were at a school in Tottenham called Woodland Park Primary, because my mum, in those days, they put the doctors in the hospital, and then they just put the kids in the nearest school to the hospital. So my mum was doing a stint at what was the old St Anne's Hospital in Tottenham, and we were put into Woodland Park Primary next door. And the first time I understood what racism was when my mum smacked me outside the school gate, because I literally, unfortunately, used the P word to another child. And it's because in this particular school, there was this song that was going around using the P word to children who'd come in from Pakistan. And we didn't know it was a bad song to sing, but we just sang it, and I was singing it. I used to love singing as a kid, and so I was singing it at the top of my lungs outside the school gate, and my mum was just like, whack. That's when I realized that actually you can't make up songs about where people come from and that kind of thing. So I think that was my first kind of, inklings into what would be racism. And then come probably secondary school, I probably didn't experience it that much until the early days of my final secondary school, because again, it was me and just 3 other black girls in a school of maybe 330 girls. Lovely private school in North London. And, to be honest, they kind of celebrated me for who I was, but I think I was the one looking back that put the issues on there that kind of weren't there. Like, for instance, if my mom took my hair out, I would refuse to go into school unless my hair was redone, even if that meant going to my aunt's house till like 3 in the morning. I was not leaving that house until my hair was locked back in. Do you see what I mean? Because I was kind of too scared to go forth and show off my gorgeous afro I had at the time. So I think it's little things like that. And obviously, a lot of it was underlying, like it was kind of more ignorance than anything else. Like I did have a very, very, very striking resemblance to Lauryn Hill when I was about 12. And so when she was in the movie Sister Act, I used to get stopped all the time. People going, "Oh, I saw you in that movie. I saw you in that movie," because we did look quite alike, especially as we both had the same braids. But I would be called anything in that school, from Lauryn Hill to Janet Jackson to Whoopi Goldberg. And then I realized that actually they're just mentioning black people. You know, when you actually look, none of these women look the same. But that's kind of how it was. And I just kind of actually learned to ignore that. I didn't use that as it didn't stop me going forwards within myself. But the teachers were the ones that held me back, because they were consistently, "Oh my God, you're going to be the most amazing athlete. Oh my," I used to model at the time. "Oh my goodness, you know, you're going to be the best model ever." That's all it was only athlete, model. There was no opportunity to be, you know, when I said, "Okay, look, I really am considering doing medicine here," because my mom's a doctor, my mom's a professor of internal medicine. They were having none of it. Like, "Why do you want to go and do medicine? You know, I don't know, we don't know if you could do that. You don't know if you're clever enough." When I mentioned dental school, the same thing. "Why don't you just focus on the acting or the modelling or your athletics? You're really gifted athlete," you know, and I was a really good footballer as well. And so it's just that there was always this drive that wanted to push you just into one of those two fields and not look at anything else. Yeah, and I guess that's kind of all I really had. A few teachers who consistently kept telling me I was wearing lip liner when I wasn't, because I have these lovely molded African lips that maybe look like I'm wearing lip liner, who knows. But yeah, I don't think, I mean, comparing my story to other people, I've never, for instance, been stopped by police unnecessarily or anything like that, you know. So yeah, I'd say that's my story. It's not so bad, not so crazy. I think the first real racism in my face was when I took over the practice here. And it's a lovely practice. It's over 100 years old, but it's always been owned predominantly by the Jewish community. The last three owners, all 33 years each, were in here, and they were all just pretty much serving the Jewish community. And I did notice that when I first took over early 2019, there was a mass exodus of the vast majority of those families. But interestingly enough, the black community raised me up. They started this really cool WhatsApp group, and you know, I think we ended up going down to around about 2,000 patients, and now we've got, with everyone, including the families that left to come back again, we've got over 20,000 patients on the books now.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, we've had massive recovery, and obviously we've won the awards, and yeah, so you know what, you should never, as Tina Turner says, turn poison into medicine. You know, never let anything negative become the reason why you're not going to do the next step. That's what my advice would be to the listeners.
So, when were you diagnosed with dyslexia?
Well, in terms of the dyslexia, they didn't officially diagnose me, reason being my parents wouldn't hear anything of it. So both of my parents are professors, right? My dad's a professor of geology, my mum's professor of internal medicine, and they don't, you know, when they see someone struggling in school, my parents are really positive. They're just like, "Oh, you know, you just need to work harder and we'll get you a tutor," and So it was actually my geography teacher, God bless her soul, she's actually passed away, Mrs. Warren. And she's the first person that ever mentioned dyslexia to me. And she said to me, she said, "Honey," she said, "don't let this hold you back. You're just going to have to read things a lot more than other people to get it, you know?" And she really worked with me. She knew my strengths. She knew my weaknesses. She understood that I needed more kind of visual than prose. And she knew that I would just take things slowly, but I would get it done. And funnily enough, in the end, I got an A in geography A level. So, in through her help, and then I took it to A level as well. So I think for me it was more everyone around me in school saying, you know, "You can't do this, you won't do that." And I realized very early on I was not going to get into dental school on my grades. I just was never going to get those grades. And so I kind of realized that, you know, my way in would be being sporty, doing my football and using that as a kick in. But you know what? I went through all that, and in my dental year, including a year where people came in with 5 straight A's A level, I still finished in the top 10. So you see what I mean? You can overcome these things. A lot of it is mindset. A lot of it is your attitude to your work. I would consistently do lots of past papers. I'd speak to the guys in the year above. I'd learn, and I practical with my studies, and I just knew I had to just get this thing done. And I didn't let that hold me back. I never, even to this day, I talk to people with dyslexia and I say to them, "Listen, you have this thing, but it kind of is your superpower. It's not necessarily something that's going to hold you back. You have to just understand which bits of you can use to take forward with that, you know?"
Do you let them know that you've got dyslexia?
Yeah, I tell them what my weaknesses are. I tell them, I mean, the only way I'd say it affects me is it probably costs me more money than it should. For instance, in terms of the management of my business, where some dentists will probably manage, say, 40% of their business and get someone in to manage 60%, I have my business probably 95% managed.
Okay.
So, from that point of view, I choose my battles, right? There's no point sitting me in front of the screen with all these figures and telling me to work out how much I'm getting paid this month, because I cannot do that. I just can't. So I have an accounts team, I have another finance team, I have a financial advisor, then I have my main practice manager. Then in all of the different divisions of my practice, I have people who will literally structurally order in things and know which bit of the practice they're handling. I do that in faith and trust. I do oversee everything, and I make sure that my manager's literally like my left arm. But I know for a fact that if I was left to do that, my business goes down.
Yeah.
you know? So that's kind of where you have to know how it is something that could potentially affect you. You just have to understand what is it you can do. And then the flip side of that is, I think, well, actually, part of my brain does work. And the brilliant thing is the creative side of my brain, the overly intentional side of my brain, the bit that means my attention to detail is like ridiculously awesome, all of that kind of stuff. That's the stuff that makes my patients love me for what I do. And I realize that my patients don't actually care if I don't know who's doing the accounts and who's doing this or late. They just want me to look after them, and that bit I'm really, really good at.
Was dentistry your first choice of career?
Yes, in a way, because I've done lots of really cool, exciting jobs, actually. I'd probably say if you sat me down at age 18, I would probably have said, I just want to be a model forever, because modeling's a lot of fun, and in those days it was like everything was free if you were modelling in London. So that was probably would have been my first choice. But I remember going to my parents and saying, I want to carry on doing my modelling, and I might just, and they were like, come back when you sort the food. So the plan was I would go and get a degree. And then at least if I finished my degree and I really wanted to kind of go back into modelling, I could, but then I've got a degree to fall back on. But then obviously I kind of fell in love with the degree as I was doing it, and then fell into dentistry, right? So it's worked out quite nicely now.
So what made you choose dentistry as a career?
Interestingly enough, I wanted to do medicine because I looked at my mother and I just thought I want to be her, like a lot of kids probably do, right? You just look at what your parents do and think, oh, that looks pretty cool, I'll go try that. But I realized that even at my level, and even as good as I thought I was a footballer and everything, there was no way I was going to get into medical school, because in those days already they were wanting 3 straight A's at A level, and I would not get that. I knew that even with tutoring, right? So that kind of ruled me out of the medical option, and I didn't want to go down the sub option, which is where you do another degree first and then go into medical school, because I just thought that just looks really crazy long. So randomly I just thought, well, I love patient care. I did a few bits of work experience and I really enjoyed it. And then I walked into one of the local dentists in Barnet, who's still my mentor, wonderful gentleman called Dr. Narayan Mansakhani, who's actually retired, but he's still my mentor. And he literally just took one look at me, and it's brilliant. He gave me a job with him. So it's crazy. You couldn't make it up. I was like, I think he's paying me something ridiculous, like £20 an hour. And he trained me up to the point in the holidays I'd nurse for him after school, some weekends, and I became his practice manager and all of this kind of really cool stuff. But I didn't have to do much because he didn't do much. He was kind of in his 60s at the time, doing like 3 patients a day. It wasn't overwhelming, you know? And so just seeing how he ran his business and how much fun he was having, I thought, yeah, this is definitely what I could do. You get paid to talk to people. This is awesome, right? So that's kind of where this is kind of how I fell into it. And it was actually Nari that said, why don't you look at dental school and just do it? And I'll convince your teachers I think you could do it. You know what I mean? So with his intervention, and me speaking to a few teachers, they agreed to sign the forms, because in those days you have to go through the old kind of UCAS system and you have to have like a teacher report and stuff. So, and that's how I did it. So I applied for the dental schools, and thank God I got in. So
what qualification and training do you need to become a dentist?
Well, at the moment you need to have, it just depends on which part of the world you want to be a dentist in. If you want to go down the UK route, then it's quite strict because it's quite competitive. So in the UK, they're still insisting that your GCSEs are pretty much top whack in terms of you want to be getting the highest scores in at least 9 to 10 subjects, in some cases 11. And then on top of that, you then would be expected to do A-level. And A-level subjects, they still insist on at least being definitely chemistry, but sometimes they can be flexible on that. And if you can add a second science and then any other subject, that's usually the best way in, because what that does is it gets you that kind of seat in front of the panel to get interviewed to get into dental school. And then on top of that, you've also got different sort of interview processes you'd have to go through. You submit a special remit online. I would say for anybody really, really categorically serious about getting into dental school, they can either reach out to me, or I'm part of a really wonderful organisation which is called the Afro-Caribbean Dental Association, so ACDA UK for short. And they are wonderful in that we've actually got students in the association, we've got young dentists in the association, we've got very, very gifted and talented, more experienced dentists, we've got dentists who sat on panels, we've got, so we've got the support structure there through the organisation to help people who want to actually look at dental school. And the other fantastic thing that ACDA do is we go into areas where, say, people would not necessarily be looking at even going to university, let alone going to dental school. And they do a lot of outreach work, and it's really, really wonderful. I mean, we've just done the recent Care for the Cold campaign, for instance, which a wonderful dental school Andrea set up. And every year we hand out things like coats to people that don't have any. We hand out food packs to the homeless. And we also go into schools now and do talks in schools and try and really raise the profile of dentistry and let people know that, you know what, you may be the first dentist in your family, but you can do this. I'm the first dentist in my family. When I said to my family I wanted to be a dentist, they were like, why on earth, do you want to go and spend your life cleaning teeth all day long? Because they didn't actually know what dentists do, because they didn't actually go, right? So the beautiful thing about the ACDA is the story repeats itself year after year. We get so many people who are literally the first dentist in their family. And you see them come in, you see them excel, you see what they do in their own individual communities, and honestly, it's just a beautiful thing to see. So yeah, I would say please do look them up, ACDA UK, or reach out to me directly. I own Mill Hill Dental Practice in North London. We're fairly open here to kids coming and doing work experience and finding out more about the profession.
How did you manage during the pandemic?
God, what it is at the beginning of the pandemic, I made a decision very, very early on that all I wanted to do was get to the end of the pandemic and not lose any staff members, ideally either to death, hashtag COVID, or to the fact that I couldn't afford to keep them. And so I literally had to kick into my entrepreneurial side. I literally did. I just thought, okay, clearly this practice is going to shut for 4 months, and we're not at a point where we had enough profits in the book, because obviously when you've just taken over a practice, what you've got to do usually, if you're sensible, is you have to put a lot of money in to make sure you then elevate that practice to the next level. So the wonderful gentleman I took over from was semi-retired. He was doing sort of 2-day weeks. He hadn't invested anything into the practice in over 30 years. So of course, me come along, not realising the pandemic around the corner, I plough my whole life savings into it. I get my best friend Hilda, bless her, to literally come and manage for me practically for free, the poor thing. And, the two of us are ploughing through and we're hiring staff slowly. Then, of course, we do the building works, and then 2 months later we have to shut. So we weren't in a position where we had any sort of extra contracts going or anything like this to keep us afloat. So I literally would work. In the daytime, I would homeschool my kids because they were still quite young then. And then in the evenings, I was thinking, okay, what can I do online to make money? What can I do? And so I literally started doing coaching online. I started doing sort of entrepreneurial activities online. I started doing things like, there was a wonderful network marketing company, Rain, and somebody had made contact with me about that. So I was able to do that and tell people about seed nutrition and make money that way. So I just did everything I could do to get going and carry on. And then thank God, as you know, at the end of that original 4 months, I think it was around about July 2020, the government were like, okay, y'all can get these bounce back loans to get back into business, right? So that's what we did. I literally used the bounce back loan to get the business back into being able to get my staff back off furlough and then get the business going. We opened the doors, and I just, dipped down what I was doing to make sure that my other dentists could get busy again quite quick for them, because they all needed to catch up on their loss of income as well. I'm blessed I have a husband, so he could work, right? And we just did it that way. And to be honest, we've been open since, and it's been unbelievable. We've 10 times our income in the pandemic. We've reached out to so many people. We've, as I say, the practice has grown leaps and bounds. We've it's been a real turnaround story. And now it's gotten to the point where I've been able to treat like 900 children a year for free. I launched the Kids Go Free campaign because I noticed that around here there are a lot of children who don't have access to dentists, and it's because their parents are trying, but nobody was letting them in. So what I immediately did is I said, well, any adults in the practice that can pay could pay. Their kids would go free, and then any kids in the local area who couldn't find a dentist, we take on as well. And by doing that, interestingly enough, I thought it was going to lose the business a lot of money, but actually the word has gotten around and people come all the time. And God, you know what God does? When he sees you doing something good, he blesses you as well. And so literally every day we get new patients through the door. We've been given 3 fantastic government contracts, which have been brilliant. So we've been able to help people up and down the southeast, and it's just been really, really wonderful. So we're really blessed to be here, and the fact that business survived is a great thing.
Right, I'm just really conscious. We've got about 3 minutes before we go to break. Right, you're known as a holistic dentist. What's the difference between a dentist and let me get the words out, an holistic dentist?
Yeah, so with holistic, what it is you're basically taking the whole person. So with traditional dentistry, you'll go in and you'll literally just have your teeth done. With holistic, you do the whole shebang. So I look at you, I look at your everything, from your mental state, your nutrition. I look at your general health, so like what kind of medications you're on, whether you need to stay on those, whether we can work with your doctor to reduce those by changing certain lifestyle issues. And then we get to your teeth. So we kind of believe that the mouth is the window to the rest of your body. And obviously the mouth will usually tell you quite quickly what's going on in the rest of your body. But we also think it's really important to keep on top of all the other stuff. So a lot of times if I'm concerned about things, I'll send patients for blood tests to their doctors. We've rejigged the practice website, by the way, put lots of free advice on there, millhilldentist.co.uk. And on there, we've got a big sort of nutrition and well-being section and a lifestyle section, so people can actually see where they are, what they're doing. They can put different changes in their life into play. And everything's on there, including things like financial coaching for people. It's all on there. So that's what holistics is all about. And it's also about preserving your natural tooth tissue. So as much as possible, my practice is predominantly digital. We don't do all that old school drilling and filling so much anymore. We look at how by scanning, by noticing things early, by moving teeth in a slightly different way where it's less painful. We can do all that, And even when we do things like implants where we replace missing teeth, these days we don't even have to often raise the big fat bit of gum out the way. We can actually go straight through your gums to things that are really beautiful much quicker. So I think it's just about honoring the body, understanding and respecting the body, and understanding that a body has a right to try and heal itself with a little bit of help. So that's kind of what holistics is.
Right. Now, can you say in 30 seconds how long you've been an holistic dentist and what drew you to this area?
Yeah. So I qualified in 2003, and I literally started probably practicing holistics about 6 years after that. I couldn't do it early on because when you're a young doctor, you're forced to sometimes work with silver fillings and that sort of thing. So I couldn't really get away from that for the early years of my career. But as soon as I could take a bit of control, I started doing holistics. So yeah, I'd say since about 2004, 5, it's been about that. So quite a long time.
Right. When we come back from the break, I'm going to ask you about your dental specialities.
Okay.
Welcome back to Spilling That Tea to Juliet G on supremefmlive.ning.com, and I am in conversation with Dr. Maggi Andi, Mill Hill dental practice owner. Now, Dr. Maggi, have you got a dental speciality?
In terms of dental speciality, no. I decided not to specialise, and also holistics isn't classified as a speciality. There are a lot of, I do sort of, not just holistics, but I do cosmetic dentistry as well. And I decided it wasn't going to be my speciality, but my other special interest is children. So at the moment, I'm part of the North London, what we call paediatric network, which is basically a network that's been set up with some of the local teaching hospitals to try and reform the way children's dentistry is delivered in this part of the UK. Now, in the old days, if you like, you'd have had to be probably a consultant in the hospital in that field to sit on that panel. But just based on the fact that I've treated thousands of children and I've tried different things in the practice and I've worked out different policies here, and I'm able to then share those with the government and see if they can make a difference, that kind of elevates you into that position. See what I mean? So you don't have to officially specialise. I actually, funnily enough, I was originally going to do, and I was doing a master's in sort of digital dental stuff with the University of Edinburgh, and I got probably about 18 months in, and I was like, no, this isn't for me. I literally only had probably about 6 months or 12 months to go to finish the whole program, and I just decided to not go ahead with it because the impact on my family was too huge, going back and forth to Scotland. It was just too much. And also I realised that I wasn't doing that for myself. I was doing it because there was a particular dentist I wanted to work with at the time. And then when the opportunity came to be my own boss, I thought, well, I don't actually need to do it now, so I didn't do it. But I learned a lot. I got a lot of value from it. And I also do say to the younger guys today, actually, if they're so sure that they love to do something and that's all they want to do, then go ahead and do a master's in it. But for me, what I have done is, rather than doing a master's, I've done a lot of extensive training in each individual field. So I've done what you call postgraduate diplomas. So I've done them in not just implant dentistry, but I've also done them in orthodontics, which is how teeth move. I've also done lots of digital planning, and, you know, the last probably 15 years I've worked with digital dentistry. So I think in terms of things like that, dentistry is one of those really interesting professions where your experience and the number of patients you've treated in a certain thing will usually elevate you quite high. So, you know, for instance, root canals. I mean, I've done just thousands and thousands of root canals to the point where some of the local specialists send me their patients they can't do, but I'm not a specialist in that field. You see what I mean? So it's just very interesting how that balances out.
You know, I'm going to ask you this question, but if I was in school, I wouldn't ask because, like, to me, it sounds like a stupid question. But however, they say no question is a stupid question. Is there a right and wrong way to brush your teeth?
There is a right and wrong way to brush your teeth. Funnily enough, I'm just in the process of filming a series of it's called 365 Reels, and they come out from the 8th of March. And what we've done is we've done lots of little cute mini videos and all the right ways to do things. And I don't know if you guys sort of follow us on Instagram, but I follow lots of other really awesome dentists. And some of them have already started doing these videos to the point where I'm like, were they in the studio watching what we were doing? But yes, there is. The best way to brush your teeth, it actually depends on what you're using. We generally say if you can afford to and if you can get hold of one, the best thing, in my opinion, to use is still an electric toothbrush.
Do you know what? My next question to you, there are so many types of toothbrush out in the market these days. What's the best type of toothbrush to use to brush your teeth? Because, you know, and they range from soft to medium to hard. And then you have your regular handheld toothbrush to your battery operated toothbrush to the electrical one. Well, you know, I started off with the regular, then I went to battery operated. Now I've gone upgrade to the big guns to the electrical ones.
Yeah. Can I give you the shortest possible answer on that?
Go ahead. I
find that still attendance to what we call dental hygienists in this part of London is still probably about 14% under what it should be. So a dental hygienist is somebody that usually will either work independently for themselves or work in an actual dental practice. And what they do is they work quite closely with the patients to make sure that they are brushing correctly. The dentist do it too. Like, I make sure all of my patients' brushing technique is spot on. But the hygienists go that one step further. They can actually assess your gums, see exactly based on the texture of your gums and the appearance of the gums exactly what kind of toothbrush you need to be using, what kind of toothpaste you need to be using, how often, whether they need to intervene and do anything in between. These days, dental hygienists are more affordable than ever before. I mean, we run a members club here. It's like £28 a month, but you can actually just pay and access a dental hygienist where you live. but anything between maybe £60 and £90 a go. So it is still a stretch, but it's achievable. And you can also get the equivalent hygiene, not as thorough as a dental hygienist, in my opinion, but close, on the National Health Service. So if you've got a National Health dentist, tell them that Maggie said, under what they call Band 2, they can actually do an under-gum clean. So there's no reason why patients aren't getting their gums looked after and aren't being taught how to brush. But as I said, if they do want to, I'll hit you our link on Instagram at some point, and if they do want to tune in and follow you, then obviously they can access our reels and they'll be able to see how the best way is to brush their teeth, whether they use manual or an electric toothbrush. We've done videos and all of that.
Excellent. So what is the right way?
So the right way is literally, I always say to people, if you take the mouth and divide it literally into top teeth and bottom teeth, and then what you want to do is, ideally, you should take about 60 seconds to all of your top teeth and 60 seconds to all of your bottom teeth. To achieve that, they just need to slow down. They need to, if they're using a normal, what you call manual toothbrush, which are the handheld ones, you just go short circle movements, really nice and slow, a couple of seconds on each surface of each tooth, and then hop on to the next tooth. And if they're using an electric toothbrush, they need to just hold the brush nice and still, just at the junction between the tooth and the gum, because the brush head will do all the work. 2-3 seconds on each surface of the tooth, and then hop on to the next tooth. What you don't want to be doing is all this up, down, side to side stuff as if you're sort of, doing a dodgy painting. Because what you're going to end up doing is you'll cover all your tooth surfaces, you'll probably move your gums in all the different directions, and you won't really get the best clean possible for you. So that's why we try and say slow down. But any dentist will be able to help. So if anybody's stuck and they're not sure, I can't think of many dentists who, if a patient walks in off the street and says, listen, I really would love to be shown how to brush my teeth, would turn them away. Every dentist I know of would spend a couple of minutes if they've got time and say, listen, do it this way, or why don't you come back and see me on this day and I'll show you. So, there is help there. There's also that beautiful thing called YouTube. Even when we do our reels, they'll be shared on YouTube and also LinkedIn and all of that. So online, you've got lots of really awesome toothbrushing videos, So it's definitely worth looking that up. And the Afro-Caribbean Dental Association I was talking about earlier on, if you look up acda-uk.org, that's their website, and on there they've also got some really, really nice bits in terms of education as well. So there's lots of opportunities to find out more about what to do correctly.
And how many times a day should you be brushing your teeth?
Again, it comes down to the individual. We say at the bare minimum twice. So if you can make sure that first brush of the day is as soon as you get up. By the way, that has to be before breakfast, okay? Because a lot of acids in the diet are now attacking the teeth. You want to be brushing before breakfast, not after. Most good toothpaste, especially those that contain a bit of fluoride, tend to give you at least 12 hours protection or more. So then we've given you a bigger window later on in the day. The second brush of the day can be any time between 4 p.m. and midnight or whenever you go to bed. So you've got that big window, because we found that only 18% of people are brushing twice a day in the UK. So clearly too busy you're forgetting, or Netflix gets in the way, So we tend to say just try and find that time to do that second brush.
So what causes bad breath?
What causes bad breath? Several things can cause bad breath. Usually the most common cause is actually some form of what we call gum disease. So what gum disease is when your gums start to shrink down a little bit, you get little, what you call pockets in between the teeth. And in those pockets, unfortunately, little bits of food and gunk can get stuck. And if that's not cleared out adequately, either by using little incidental brushes or some form of little sort of mouthwashes, or you can even get little water jets, they're called, where you get they look a bit like electric toothbrushes, and you can send water, a high pulse in between the gums. Unfortunately, that causes the gums to deteriorate a little bit more, and that leads to bad breath. The other second very common factor is dietary factors. So it might have just been something you've eaten. For instance, there's certain things you can imagine, like garlicky type foods and onion type foods, that can make the breath a bit worse. But your mouth has a natural ability within it to recover your natural breath, by the way, no matter what you've eaten. If you haven't got gum disease, your breath should actually go back to normal within 2 hours. So if it doesn't, and you need to go and do something about it, maybe give them a clean in the middle of the day, or just use a really good healthy. There's lots of healthy mouthwashes now, by the way. You don't have to use mouthwashes that have alcohol in. We've done a video on sort of coconut pulling and all of that sort of oil stuff that you can do as well, which is like nice natural ways to do that. So yeah, that was what I would say in terms of bad breath. Those are the two most common things. And then the third thing is usually a dry mouth. If your mouth is really, really dry, particularly if you're on some of these like new keto diets that diabetics can have sometimes, you find that actually this can cause your breath to change as well. So sometimes if your breath is consistently bad and you've done everything about it, nothing's making a difference, I usually suggest to patients, you know what, if the hygienist has seen you, they're happy, then next thing is get to your GP, have a blood test, make sure your body's balanced in the right way. And sometimes just by giving them very simple supplementation, they suddenly feel much better and things do start to improve. So your body's very clever and will tell you if you're lacking something.
How do you reassure your patients and put them at ease when they're nervous to come to the dentist? Because, like some people are literally petrified. I'm talking, not children, I'm talking adults, grown people, because they've had really bad experience of dentists. So,
absolutely.
How do you get them? How do you get people that are afraid to come to the dentist? How do you reassure them?
Yeah, so basically, I think, do you know what? There's a power in storytelling. And there's also power in reaching into your past experiences to help others move forward. So for me, I have dental phobia, which is one of the funny reasons I landed in dentistry as well. The fact that I was a vein model as well, and I sucked my thumb and all of this stuff. But in terms of being phobic yourself and knowing how nervous you would be in that situation, your patients will know that you've been there and understand what they're going through. Now, even if you're not the sort of person that's phobic and not scared, you would still have to have something within you called empathy to be a dentist. Empathy is the ability to relate to somebody else's feelings. And when patients in the chair, what we've done is we've actually made the environment very, very, very relaxed. And we've actually taken the dentist out of the room visually. So what that means is, in our practice, the walls are sort of gold, and some of the walls are gold, and then we've got a bright yellow chair, so that reduces the focus from them to the walls. And then on top of that, we've got black cabinetry, but then the dentists wear black so that we kind of blend into the background, so that when they come in the foreground, it's actually what they can hear is piano music or soft psalm music. And sometimes we have some lovely candles. And, so we kind of make sure that actually environment is the best environment they're walking into. And then we never say to the patient, come straight in and sit in that chair. We always give them a minute to, introduce ourselves. They know the team. They feel comfortable. Outside's a bit like a living room. It doesn't feel clinical in here at all. And then so already you've taken away probably 20-30% of the fear. And then the critical thing you do is you say to your patient, how are you? And then you have a chat. If you've had that chat and you've broken down that barrier, what they'll usually do is they'll feel comfortable enough to tell you about that previous experience, to which point you can reassure them. And don't forget, I say this to a lot of young dentists, Google reviews. A lot of people don't realise the power of Google reviews. Trust me, most patients that check out a practice will check out Google reviews, or they'll check out word of mouth, or they'll check out WhatsApp, or they'll check out your Instagram or whatever, right? If you can see that if they see positivity and all they're not seeing is bad, this happened, that was awful, then it kind of helps a lot, So that's what we do. We take it slow. I do a lot of visualization with patients. I mean, funnily enough, some American companies are sending me a VR headset to try, because what they want is they've got 30,000 different places in the world that patient can be while they sit in my chair. So they can put their headset on and they can be in the middle of the Bahamas, or they can be on the Grand Canyon, or they can be climbing in the Amazon, And that kind of power of visualization takes them away from where they are to somewhere else is fine. But the single most important thing is pain. That person must know that they are not going to feel any pain from start to finish. And by pain, I don't just mean physical pain. I mean financial pain and mental pain. You need to understand.
When you go to the dentist,
listen. Pain of what to expect of their dental bill at the end of it is more potent to them than what they think they're going to go through in the chair.
Listen,
seriously.
If
you're open and honest with them, and you're saying to them, listen, this is what you need right now. This is what you do need, but maybe let's plan this over the next 2-3 years. This is the finance that can help you with this, or why don't we save up and do this? These are all things that complete the umbrella. I'm telling you, believe me. And then prevention, which means you say to them, my job, I've let you down, if after all this you've gone through, I see you back in 2 years and you need a filling? So the question is, how much can you educate them to make sure that this is kind of it now, and going forward it's all about prevention and enjoying the members club and seeing the hygienists and all the other fancy things we do, but not actually having to, have fillings. That's where we want to be at, So I think all of that as an umbrella market makes it the best experience for your dentist. And when they know they're coming into the best experience, and they usually have a family member or friend who's also had the best experience, then that's it. That's your job done, So my staff laugh at me when I say I'm going to retire about 45. They say, what do you mean? I said, no, I can, because I know that when I've left that legacy and I've taught enough people to do what I do the way I do it, I know dentistry is okay, I can walk. And I know that they'll still be okay. There has to come a point where you take yourself out of the profession and you've made a difference. My thing now is to make sure the next generation is sorted. All those kids coming up, to make sure North West London, those kids have the best care they can get. And then I'm happy, I'm done, I'm happy, So that's where you have to be at when you get into this stage of the profession. You now have to think, how can you make sure your philosophy carries through onto the next dentist coming up?
This is a question from a listener. Can dental status be hereditary, as both of her parents have full dentures at an early age, and she's having major oral problems, losing bone and teeth loosening? She has a very strict oral care whereby she brushes twice a day, plus after every time she eats. Is there anything else she can do, or is the decline hereditary going to be inevitable?
Yes and no. I find that when those sort of situations arise, and they tell her please that they do arise fairly often, the first thing she needs to do is make sure she's got a full screen. So what I mean by that is she needs to get to a dentist who can obviously have a really good look at her mouth, check her gums thoroughly, and they will also do some sort of imaging, which is usually called a radiograph. It's like basically an X-ray that will go around your head and will show you where the bone levels are. Other things she needs to do is she needs to get, I don't know how old she is, but in the UK, if you're over 33, you can actually get 3 blood screens on the NHS from your GP. And what you do is you literally just get the GP to check for everything. Because when I send patients for that, a lot of them are very, very deficient in certain things that they actually need for strong bones. So their calcium might be low. They're not on vitamin D. I forgot to mention, vitamin D, by the way, now needs to be taken all year round. Don't be listening to this nonsense of October to April. All year round, you want to be taking your vitamin D. You need it in this country. And it's really, really important that when they get that screen, they can see exactly where their levels are. And sometimes it's just as simple as topping up certain elements with their diet. That will help in terms of going forward. But in terms of dealing with the mainstay, it's not unusual to have both parents lose teeth early and see at least 1 or 2 or 4 children have the same thing. So there might be some form of genetic element, but it doesn't always follow. So I'd say she's in that situation and she's got issues with her teeth, issues with her gums. If it can't be dealt with at practice level, the hospital do still have an access pathway. So please tell the person not to let access to care in their local community be an issue or cost, because a vast majority of cases that I've seen, we usually can handle it at practice level, but if we can't, we work quite closely with the local hospitals who get involved as well. So the key thing is to make sure that no more teeth get lost and that can hopefully be prevented. And those teeth that have been lost, there is a way of getting rehabilitation. So we can get teeth back again in different ways in the profession as well. So don't be worried that those teeth are gone and gone for good. Yeah.
And I know the listener is listening, so I hope that's answered your question. Now, I know you mentioned mouthwash and toothpaste. There are so many out there. What would you recommend if I was your patient, without mentioning company names, because I don't want to be sued or for anybody to come after me or you? What would you recommend?
I think in terms of mouthwashes, first and foremost, it comes down to what the person's philosophy is and the reason why they're using a mouthwash. For instance, I'm not going to mention any names, but a lot of mouthwashes are not designed to do anything for tooth decay. A lot of people don't realise that. So mouthwash to help with decaying teeth or rotting teeth, it's actually got to have some form of elements of fluoride in it. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, if you've got a problem with your gums, there would be mouthwashes specific to the gums. Now, I'm holistic, so I'm a little bit conflicted with mouthwashes, but I do also use them and prescribe them in situations where we have to, right? Because for certain instances, you need to give patients a boost in terms of a certain type of mouthwash before they can then maintain it themselves in a natural way. There are loads of, I mean, we're doing videos which will come out on the whole different types of natural mouthwashes you can make for yourself. But I would say in this instance, the best way to choose which mouthwash you want to use is to either get your dentist to suggest one for you based on how your teeth and gums are looking, or get your hygienist to do that. One beautiful thing about dentistry now is in the last 5 years, we have started a bit of a mini movement where a lot of us are getting more and more digital, and a lot of us are virtually patients. So most dentists now do have free virtual links on their website. If you wanted to go to ours, it's literally just millhilldentist.co.uk/virtual consultation. So you can see the link on the website, and on that, you can just submit photos of their teeth and gums, and they can fill in a little form. And on that, I can just have a look, or one of my team can have a look and tell them whether they need to come in and see somebody, or whether we need to send them to someone near where they live, or what kind of mouthwash they might want to get started with. So we can do that. On to toothpaste. There's a big dilemma at the moment. Should we have fluoride toothpaste? Shouldn't we? I get people saying, how can you be a holistic dentist that say fluoride's good? The reason is fluoride is good. Fluoride is only toxic.
Dr. Maggie, we are going to go to break. Okay?
Yeah. Okay.
Welcome back to the last segment of Spilling That Tea to Juliet G, where you know that I'm in conversation with Dr. Maggi Andi. Now, Dr. Maggie, before we went to break, you were talking about toothpaste.
Yes, that's right. So just before we went to break, I was just saying about the reasons why, as a holistic dentist, I do recommend fluoride. And actually, a lot of people don't realise this. They think fluoride is some really crazy chemical. Fluoride is actually naturally occurring. It's a mineral. It's on Earth. It's in soil. It's in rocks. It's in water. It's in lots of foods you eat. But the thing is, in dentistry, we choose to add a little bit of extra into your toothpaste, and sometimes in the water supply in certain parts of the country, just because it encourages those teeth to get a bit stronger. It helps the outer coating of your tooth, which is called enamel, to basically fight against acid attacks. And it's acid attacks from food which can cause your teeth to start to rot away. So this is why we recommend fluoride, to the point where with some patients, unfortunately, if we're really, really worried about their teeth, we actually prescribe them a specific fluoride toothpaste, which is stronger than the ones you can buy in the shop. As long as you spit and you don't swallow, fluoride is not toxic to humans. It's only toxic if you continuously swallow. So it's really important that people are aware of that. You need to keep the tubes of toothpaste away from your children. You need to make sure that ideally from the age of 7, they're using at least a decent size amount, same as yours. They can use a little bit from the age of 3. And again, these are things that we guide. Our members get guided on all of this stuff, but you can actually ask any dentist. You can hop online. You can get free advice from your GP, see a hygienist. They'll teach you the right amount of toothpaste to be using. So very, very important. If somebody says to you, they're a dentist, and says, don't use fluoride toothpaste, Maggie says, run. Okay, that's it. Go, leave. All right? And, you know, honestly, because I've had my daughter poisoned with fluoride because we used to sample for a certain toothpaste brand, and we hadn't realised the cheeky little thing was sneaking into the bathroom and helping herself. So I've been there with my own child, so I know what fluoride can do, and I'm still comfortable to recommend it.
Right. How can we maintain whiter teeth?
There's different ways you can maintain white teeth. Ideally, number 1 on my list is not smoking. If you smoke any sort of tobacco-related products, even, to be honest, some forms of cannabis, they can darken your teeth quite significantly. We have it, I think the new thing in England at the moment is everybody seems to want celery juice and turmeric juice. It darkens your teeth. It's good for you, but it darkens your teeth. So you can use a straw if you're having certain drinks that are coloured. You can use toothpaste, which again are, I suppose, seen as whitening toothpaste, but bear in mind they will only just about remove a little bit of staining. And it is perfectly safe. It's done with guidance by a dentist or proper hygiene therapist to whiten your teeth with special trays and certain types of bleaches. So I would say that. And from a natural point of view, we've done some videos coming up on use of banana skins and also strawberry. There's ways you can actually whiten your teeth that way. So have a look out for our reels on those when they come out.
I just got a question from a listener, and she's asking, what happens to your teeth when you're going through chemo?
Yeah, so when you're going through chemo, it depends on what level of chemo and what type. If you're going through the sort of, if you like, the more old school chemo, I like to call it, which is the sort of the ones where the impact is a lot more over time, then unfortunately it can make your teeth just a little bit weaker. And that's usually when it's combined with something called radiotherapy as well, because it can really attack the inner core strength of the teeth. The vast majority of patients now going through chemo, sometimes they experience a little bit of white spotting on the teeth. Sometimes they find that their mouth does dry up a little bit, and sometimes they find that they get sensitivities. Teeth can get quite sore when they have hot and cold. But these things, again, are usually quite easy to manage with the diet. Again, we tend to put them on a slightly higher toothpaste that contains fluoride than normal, and we just tell them which foods to avoid. There's a really, really good supplement that we do here, which I won't mention, but with that supplement, that helps a lot with people with chemo as well. It does contain, if anybody wants to look it up themselves, you can get a little bit of black seed oil, a tiny bit of black seed, really small amounts of oil, and you can actually massage that into your teeth, and that actually is a good way of protecting your teeth as well if you're going to do chemo.
Okay.
You don't have to get the actual supplement, they can just try and get the actual black seed itself and just rub it just very, very gently around the gums. It doesn't stain at all, and apply that for about 4 or 5 minutes and then rinse out, and that's usually quite a nice way of protecting those teeth also.
Right. Flossing. Now, I don't mean the dance. Should we be doing this? And if so, how often? And what sort of dental floss should we be using?
Okay, so with my members, we're phasing out string floss now because we're finding from a lot of the recent studies that the string floss, a lot of bacteria, which are germs, seem to be travelling around the string and going from one bit of your mouth to the other. So what we say ideally is if they can find little, what you call incidental brushes, they're very, very small brushes that are designed to fit in between the teeth. Again, most hygienists or dentists can tell you what size to get. And water flossers are very good. So instead of having the string floss, they're little like attachments that look a bit like electric toothbrushes, and you can literally use those and they burst water at high speed in between the teeth. Finally, you can get floss action brush heads now, which are basically little toothbrush heads that have little spiky, sticky outfits, and they can go really nice and gently in between the teeth. So there's lots of ways to get in between your teeth now without actually using string floss. And some things, watch out for videos, coconut pulling and things like that, which is where we use different types of natural oils, and we teach you how to hold those in your mouth and actually suck out anything between the teeth. So that's a really good alternative to flossing as well.
Charcoal toothpaste, are they good for whitening your teeth?
Can be and they can't be. It depends on which element of charcoal toothpaste you're using. When the first charcoal powders came out, the idea was to put them on the mouth and sort of rub them around the teeth really nicely. They would actually lift whitening. They can do that, but they're quite abrasive. Unfortunately, I hate to tell you, but the vast majority of charcoal toothpaste on the market at the moment are for the sales gimmick. If you actually look, they haven't necessarily got enough charcoal in them to raise up where you want to be. If you're going to use one, then use one that's probably around about $8.99 or more. That's probably got enough in it. But I'd say at this moment in time, we're just saying to patients, by all means, use them, but it's more feel-good factor than anything else.
Okay, so that's a waste of money.
Well, not a waste of money, because anything that gets you sort of brushing regularly and anything that gets you motivated to brush, if switching from a normal toothpaste to a charcoal one means you're doing it twice a day every day, then happy days. So it's definitely not a waste of money. It's just not always going to do what it says in the packet. So just read the packet carefully.
Right, Dr. Maggi, you're a life coach, a football coach. Where do you find the time to do all this? And on top of that, you are a mother and a wife. How do you balance it all?
You know what, I just make the time. I think what we did is we had one child who was in the West End for 5 years, and I guess that taught me a lot, because I noticed that a lot of parents having to quit their jobs to be these kind of mummy chairs, I used to term them, And I thought, I've got no choice, I've got no way. I've got one that plays netball, one that plays football, one that wants to do acting and what's not. So I just had to find time for myself. And what I did was I extended my day. So some people have this philosophy where they'll wake up at 5 a.m. No chance for me. I'm not a 5 a.m. riser. I'll wake up around about 7, but then I tend to go to bed closer to 2 a.m. So I thought where I steal from one side of the day, I can add to the other. And also, I just don't talk too much about what I do. I just get it done. For me, I just make sure I factor things out. When it was quite clear that my son's got this football gift, I thought, well, obviously I've got to take him to all this football, so I might as well be his coach. And I have a football background anyway, having been in football for over 30 years myself. So it just worked out easier to be the one taking him there. And I thought, I'm taking him there, I might as well coach the team. So that's kind of how you fall into these things.
True.
And then in terms of the life coaching, again, I'm just in the process of automating the course fully online. So actually, that's not so invasive anymore. It used to be a bit more difficult because I was doing it a lot of one-on-ones, and I just found it was too much time. I enjoyed it, but I couldn't give enough of myself to it. So now it's going to be automated. I think that way I can reach more people online, and they can just log in and they can actually work through the program together.
Yeah.
And then only reach out to me if absolutely necessary. So that's how I fit that in. And then with dental, I just make sure I've hired far and wide, and I have a really, really wonderful staff here now. And you know, we all make it work, and I'm not in the practice every day. So I think it's all about having that work-life balance. But my strong philosophy is that 80% of my time still belongs to me. I won't budge from that.
What do you do to relax? You know, your self-care and for your well-being.
Yes, yes. Spa.
Okay.
I won't say the name of the company, but we have a family gym nearby, so I'm in that spa most mornings if I can. I sneak in some evenings. And I've actually just hired, I wouldn't say this is relaxing, but I've just hired a personal trainer to take me through the next year. And also one thing I do, a lot of people think this is really funny, but I literally dance naked. I start my day every morning naked dancing. I just strip off. I'm completely started, and I just dance, and I love it, and it frees me up. And one thing I've added since New Year's is a trampoline. So now I kind of jump up and down naked on my trampoline, and it's the best release ever. It really is.
Are we talking in your house?
Brilliant, right? Once you dance naked, trust me, nothing in your day.
Hold on. Dr. Maggie, are you saying you jump around on a trampoline in your house?
Yep. In my house, yes, definitely not outside the front door. In my house, my kids think I'm nuts, but it's fun. I absolutely love it. And for me, I just think if you can't be naked in your own house, where else can you be naked, right? So for me, it's the best. I love it. I've done it for a while. My husband thinks I'm such a voyeur. I'm always naked in the house, but I just think it's my house, and I'm gonna walk around how I want to feel, how I want to, and I just think it just lets all the tension away. And you know, you don't have to be closed all the time.
True.
But it's really good, and it's good for your cardio as well. And I also found these really awesome girls on YouTube who did this really cool African dancing, and we do that. I do that as my sort of evening African dance workout. So yeah, there's lots of ways to relax. But my favourite thing is my massages and my facials every 3 weeks, without fail.
And one more question. How do you keep it together and stay motivated?
I pray, because I feel everything I do is governed by God. Like literally, I'm that spiritual connected that He talks to me. So I know where I'm headed. Like when I came to see this practice, I've got the full video. You wouldn't believe it's the same place. And I remember looking around, and the gentleman I brought the practice from was like, "Why are you smiling so much?" And I literally said to him, I said, I've just been sent the vision of this place finished. And he thought it was really weird. And he said, "What do you mean?" I said, "No, I'm telling you." I said, "I didn't see this place finished. I've just seen the vision." And I think for me, because I've seen the vision of the social impact I can make, I don't let down till I get there, you know? Like right now, the kingdom we come from, you know, my mom's doing this big hospital project to build the hospital there. My dad's in the process of building a university in the main town. You know, we think, how many people can you impact and how quickly? And that's what keeps you going. I don't do this for me anymore. I do this for how many people I can bring up with me. You know, I have the whole hashtag Together We Rise movement, and that's what it's about right now. It's about how many people can get financial freedom as well, and also just have a start, give them a start, let them crack on and make something of their life too. So that's what keeps me motivated, you know, definitely.
And if people would like to register with you, do you only take people in your catchment area, or do you take people from anywhere?
We take people from anywhere, but obviously because we're in the middle of a pandemic, where I can, I try and encourage people to stay closer to where they live. The beautiful thing is, it's funny because obviously since, especially the BLM movement, we've had a lot of this business of people actively searching out black dentists, right? And so a lot of times I will say, look, I'm part of the Afro-Caribbean Dental Association. We've got dentists registered up and down the country. So if you want a black dentist and you're insisting on that, I'll find you one. Through the Caribbean Association. So we do that. For me personally, the stage I am in life, I choose who I treat. So not everybody that says they want to be treated by Maggie gets to be treated by Maggie.
Oh,
but
really?
one thing I have done is I've made sure that I have enough dentists here who share my philosophy and are wonderful, wonderful people. And if someone genuinely insists they must be treated by me, I will still meet them and treat them. So I just come to that point where I protect my time, because there comes a time in everyone's job where you have to enjoy it and really, really love what you do.
Yeah.
And if you're a dentist, to really, really love what you do, you have to really, really love who you treat. And I used to treat a lot of these celebs who thought that their time was my time. They said, "I'll come this time." They didn't lock up. I said, "No, find someone else. I don't care who you are. My time, 80% belongs to me. I'm here to help you. You have to respect that. So that's my
kind of
philosophy.
girl.
And I think since I've done that, I've been much, much happier in my job. But I do make sure that we'll never let any pain not be in pain. We run an NHS nighttime facility here as well, so it's 7 p.m.
In fact,
to
I was
1
going
a.m.
to ask you,
evening.
do you take NHS patients?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so the nighttime facility takes NHS emergencies. We do prescriptions all day long for NHS England, and we also have some face-to-face slots available in the day as well if need be. So we're trying our best to make sure that no matter what walk of life, everybody's dealt with and everybody's looked after. And obviously the members club is the prevention club, which is £28.50 a month, and that's more for patients that need to see the hygienist more often.
Right. And Dr. Maggie, how can people contact you?
If you go to the website, which is millhilldentist.co.uk, they can literally have a look on there and they can contact me and the practice through that. If they want to send me a DM on Instagram, you can either do that to millhill.dentalpractice, so at millhill.dentalpractice, or at Dr. Maggi Andi. So those are probably the quickest way to contact me. Or you can look me up on Clubhouse. I'm always on Clubhouse helping London these days. And again on Clubhouse, I'm just Maggi Andi. So I'm quite easy to get hold of. And yeah, I'll be more than happy to help anybody that's stuck and needs some advice.
And finally, Dr. Maggie, is there anything you would like to say before I let you go?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd just like to say, especially with the way the world is now, I just want to tell people to give themselves a break. I think, honestly, the world is in such a really, really, really chaotic place. And there's a lot of, I had my daughter come home the other day in tears because her geography teacher thought it'd be a good idea to tell his class that they're going to be invaded as World War III in the next couple of weeks. I mean, what he was thinking, So I think there's just a lot of anxiety around at the moment. So I would say just take time for you. And honestly, since I've been practicing this 80-20 philosophy, I'm a different person. I don't get stressed about things I can't change. I'm more prayerful, I'm more still. And little changes. Just make little changes to try and own your time a bit more. And if you're not in a position to do that, then maybe just try and visualize the day you'll be in a position to do that. And you'll find that slowly you move towards that place, that space, So just try and take a little bit of all the stress out and just deal with yourself first. Be a little bit more selfish might be my advice. And then the more selfish you are, the more people you can impact. I didn't think that possible, but it's true.
Thank you so much, Dr. Maggi Andi, for sharing your holistic dental expertise with us and making us more aware of how we should be looking after our teeth and maintaining good oral hygiene. Now, what are you doing after the show?
Well, thank you for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure. After the show, I've actually, even though I swore I'd never work Saturdays, I try and do one quick clinic a month. So I'm actually going to start a clinic from 10 till 1 today.
Okay.
And I have to go home and console my, of course, son, who cried himself to sleep last night because he's a massive Man United fan.
Oh,
knocked
dear.
out of the FA.
Oh, my son's not
so
going to be happy
that's
too.
That's going to be my day, I think. And the girls are home getting their hair braided, so I'm going to go and rescue my hairdresser and hope she's not having too much stress for my kids.
Okay.
But yeah, it's all about the kids on weekends for me usually.
Absolutely. Well, you take care and thank you for keeping it supreme.
Absolute pleasure, and thank you so much for having me.
You are so welcome.
Pleasure.
Take care. Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
And on that note, keep it supreme with me, your host, Juliet G. Next week, I will be in conversation with two very interesting ladies. Sarah Field, who is a pelvic floor coach. And Natasha Dawn, who invented the C-section knickers. Natasha will be sharing how, why, all that came about, and so on and so forth. So you better set your alarm clock from now, because you don't want to miss it. I say this every week. Coming up next, we have Martin J, and from 12 to 2 we have Mosty G, and 2 to 4 we have DJ Anel, and from 4 till 6 p.m. we have DJ Tubbs in for DJ Lee. And from 6 till 8 p.m. we have WJ Goodgroove, and 8 till 10 p.m. we have Lloydie Banks, and from 10 till midnight we have DJ Squeaky, and from midnight to 2 a.m. we have Uncle Nuts until he says so. Now that is the DJ presenters lineup on Supreme FM. And as always, thank you to each and every one of you, whether you be a first-time listener or a regular listener, and even the silent ones. Thank you for spending the last couple of hours with yours truly. You can follow me on Instagram, spilling the tea to Juliet G. So, it's the same time next week for your Saturday morning fix. Remember, tomorrow is not promised, so love and appreciate the people who are in your life, and don't worry about those that aren't. Have a blessed, safe, and memorable day until next week.
Myself a real good time. All this week spent too much stressing. Really need a break. Really need a change of pace. In the club you'll find good music. Some old friends as well as some new. 'Cause you're good when you can get there. Gotta get that drink. Gotta make your presence felt
At the place
where the weekends
time to party.
to the music.
Everybody
It's gonna be there.
is always hot.
Here at the place tonight. I need to find some conversation with a lady or maybe two. If it only leads to some dancing, well, it's all good. There'll be some other